Light really influences our lives. A lot of the time we take it for granted. We don't really sort of notice it. You can actually change people's moods through lighting design without them realizing that they're being sort of influenced in that way. I'm Mark Major. I'm a lighting designer, and here we are at my studio in London. I work with buildings, with cities, with the built environment. We as humans follow a certain kind of rhythm, but obviously society has progressed such that we want to extend the day. Lighting design is a discipline in which somebody comes up with solutions for how you can create a great experience for people, functionality for people, or with the right light create a mood or an ambience for a space. And the thing that most interests me as a lighting designer, and maybe this comes out of my architectural background, is the increasing lack of division between the inside and the outside. Quite often when we're in the city these days, when are you really inside and when are you really outside? Even with a glass tower building, by day, maybe the glass is very reflective. We don't see into the building too well. At night, suddenly the landscape of all of the desks and everything, the building becomes transparent. This joins our visual landscape. It becomes a much more visual part of the city. And I think there have been a few big projects for me that were very important. Certainly one of those was working on Terminal 5 at Heathrow. The first time I ever landed at Terminal 5, experiencing in a way what we had designed. After dark and seeing how well that worked, I mean, wow, that was really exciting. When our firm did the Grand Mosque project, and it was this idea that the mosque was somehow bathed in moonlight. As the moon disappears over the month, then slowly the mosque goes bluer and deeper and bluer and deeper until there's no moon, so there's no white light on the mosque. I mean, in a way, it's obviously a very artificial conceit, but nonetheless very sort of poetic and beautiful. Light pollution is a critical issue and a growing problem. Firstly, it prevents us seeing the stars. That connection to the stars is part of our natural being. Secondly, it can have really strong impacts on the ecosystems within our city. It can affect birds, it can affect all sorts of flora and fauna. Finally, and importantly, it affects human beings. I mean, if you live right in the center of a very light polluted city, never getting darkness is actually quite foreign to our species. The absence of light is something that actually is physically important for us. We're here on London's South Bank on what's known as the Queen's Walk. Just at the end of Blackfriars Bridge is Unilever House, which we illuminated a few years ago. We're currently working on a lighting scheme for the exterior of St Paul's Cathedral, but in fact we also relit the interior of that very famous iconic building. This large tower you can see in the foreground that is still under construction is the Leadenhall project by Richard Rogers, and just behind that you can see 30 St Mary Axe, which is the project we will be visiting later tonight. We completed a project here a few years ago. There are a number of mature London plane trees in which we put a series of white and blue LED lamps. One of the things that's very interesting about it is that people seem to respond to it very well. And what's also interesting about it is that it's not very bright. I mean, actually for a busy area of the city, it's actually relatively dark here. But generally speaking, it feels very safe and people appear to feel very comfortable with the lighting scheme. It's very different, this idea that you can illuminate public space, this idea that you can sort of treat parts of the city like outdoor rooms in which you create atmosphere and you create ambience is something that's not so usual, and it's something certainly we do a lot. Now we're at 30 St Mary Axe, which is affectionately known as the Gherkin. I always get excited when I see projects that I've worked on, and obviously I'm not the architect, and when you see a building that you've worked on in a movie, It's really amazing, and actually I've been lucky enough to have worked on several buildings that have appeared in really interesting movies, actually most of them James Bond, and that's always good. This building is very well known for being a very green building. It has very good daylight. Light being a very visible form of energy, it was very important to get the balance right with the lighting. So the decision was, in a curious way, and I think quite innovative at the time, not to light to the building. You can still understand the sort of spiral nature of the building, even at night, just through the pattern of occupation and the interior lighting. Whilst we're looking at this economic and social balance, we must understand that light uses energy, and so we must therefore meet these two criteria, but in a very responsible way, trying to do that using as little energy as possible. I think really good lighting can improve people's lives by helping them to sort of feel better. If we can really understand the way that light is used better, I think that we can really create cities in particular, public spaces, individual buildings, etc., that when you visit them after dark or you experience them after dark, are really very special places to be. Places that you remember and places that you enjoy.